Welcome back to the podcast, Caleb Ewan. Stage 2 rest day, checking in for the almost week that's been since we caught up last.
Yeah.
We had a pretty grippy run into the last rest day. It hasn't been any easier this time.
Yeah.
Hey, trucking.
Well, if I said I was tired last rest day, then absolutely on my hands and knees now. I'm pretty tired, not gonna lie. I'm actually very, very, very tired.
What's been the worst? What's been the worst day since we last linked up?
Oh, worst day. 2 days ago, I think, was probably the worst. When Bora decided to go full gas on the climb, then I got dropped by myself. Teammates had to wait for me. Then they had to do like a team time trial for 100 Ks to make sure I was still in time. That was a pretty bad day. And then yesterday as well, I was on the flat. Like this is 100 Ks on the flat, or kind of flat. It was pretty flat before the climbs. And they were attacking full gas, and I was like just hanging on the wheels. So yeah, last few days have been pretty hard.
So you were first hooped on the day that Bora lit it up on the Cat 2 out of the holes?
Well, I wasn't first dropped, but then I tried to hang in too long, and then I blew, and then the first people dropped came past me, and then I was really going slow. But it wasn't ideal.
How does it work? Like when you're at the back, you get dropped super early. Do you still have a team car with you, or is there just like the Sag wagon?
No, I always have team car with me.
Always have a team car, yeah.
Yeah, always have team car with me.
Is that because you're Caleb Ewan or because you're at the hoop?
No, usually they're always if your first rider dropped or like first rider of the team dropped, then there's always usually a car with you because there's 2 cars in the race. So one will stay with the bunch, then one will usually stay with the dropped rider. So I usually always have a car with me. Because you still, like when I got dropped a few days ago, I was dropped with, I think, 150 K to go still. So you obviously still need like biddens and food and all your stuff. So then a car has to stay with you. But hard mentally when you drop that far to go. And it's happened a few times now.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible. What like with the time cut? You got information coming from the car? Like are they in the back like crunching numbers, or are you boys just riding as hard as you can? Like
there's always like points in the course where they're like, all right, 10 minutes behind, 11 minutes behind, 12 minutes behind, and then usually from the start. If the average speed is 40 K now, for example, like it'll be, depends what the stage is, but it'll be like 10%, 12%, 15% of the winning time. But day like that, because it's not like a proper mountain stage, the time cuts are not like really, really big. But because it was quite a long stage, the time cut ended up being alright. But if I was by myself, then probably wouldn't make it, but definitely wouldn't make it. So that's when they have to call back my teammates to come help me.
The highs and the lows of the tour.
Hey,
there was that sweet photo of you like hands over your shoulders, your teammates as they've just dragged you to the finish line. Was to the boys in the bunch, and it just comes over the radio. Caleb's dropped. Get back there, start chopping turns.
Yeah, pretty much. I just rode. As soon as I was getting dropped, they wanted to wait for me. I said, no, just keep going. Because I was like struggling to push any power. It's 150 K to go still, I think. But then, I got kind of into a rhythm of still not pushing that much power. I was like 10 minutes behind on top. And then after the top, because, I mean, there's not much they can do for me on the climb. Like, I can just go as fast as I can go. If I'm in the wheel, it doesn't mean I can go any faster. Like, if I can only push 250 watts or 300 watts, doesn't matter if they ride faster. Like, I'm not really getting a slipstream. So it's better that I just ride up the climb my own tempo, and then after the top, then they tell the guys to wait for me, and then obviously through the valleys and like downhills and stuff, and on the flat parts, then they can really help me.
That's 5 minutes of doom and gloom, Albie. Let's talk about
In other
stage
news,
10 and stage 11 when he was in the front.
In other news, you've bagged a stage win and picked up second since we last discussed. And you were talking about first rest day. You're like, oh, I picked up one stage. Like, that's a huge tick. That's a huge pressure off the shoulders. Now you've picked up 2. We might run through stage 10 first. Second to Sam Bennett on the final. Got a little bit of footage here.
Look out.
This day was windy.
Yeah.
But ended up all coming back together. Was there lots of nervous energy out of the holes?
Yeah. Oh, I was so nervous all day. We just rode so fast all day, like all the teams next to each other. And then like after the first crosswind section, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore, sit at the front. So then I just sat at the back. And then luckily nothing happened. And I reckon like literally 2 minutes before it split again, like right at the end, I just got back to the front. Because it didn't all come back together. I think there was only maybe half the bunch in the end. And then I think the other half were dropped. But yeah, it was super nervous all day and lots of crashes and things like
that. Run us the final. I don't have the full footage of the final here, but it looks like there was a fair bit of boxing on for Bennett's wheel. As per a lot of the other stages, some had a real crisp lead out with Bennett on their wheel, and then looks like there was a lot of boxing on between you, Sagan, and Viviani for Bennett's wheel.
Yeah, like I had lost my lead out man to mechanical before the crossing, so he never made the split. So I knew, all right, I'm going to have to kind of surf the bunch myself in the end. But yeah, I ended up getting Bennett's wheel, and then probably you always use a little bit of energy trying to box on for a wheel. But I got there in the end, and I was on the wheel that I wanted to be on. But I think looking back, it probably would have been better to be a few wheels further behind. So then I would have panicked a bit and gone earlier. Whereas I was too comfortable where I was. I was just like, perfect. Like I'm going to start the sprint and I'll be able to come around him. But yeah, they did it so well that when you see here Bennett goes, Morkov comes back through the line, and I can only start sprinting once I've cleared Morkov. By the time I cleared Morkov, there's only like 70 meters to go or something. And for me to come around a guy like Sam, probably need at least a bit over 100 meters to start coming around him. Because it's not like I'm coming around him super quick. When we're drag racing like that, you're like making up kind of second, like a few centimeters, at a time. So yeah, in the end, I just left it way too late, and I was so annoyed with myself because I knew that's how Quickstep do their lead outs, and I know Morkov does that all the time, and he used to do it with Viviani as well. So
that's actually a really good point. I've never actually thought about that. Like, if you're a lead out man, you just make sure your sprinter's sprinting on the fence, and you just sprint on the left. There's nothing really that the guys behind you can do unless they're coming from like where Sagan is now. But if you're like just behind the sprinter, there's not really much you can do.
Yeah.
Until that gap opens up there.
Yeah. And then it was too late. I was coming at him, but then in the end I just ran out of room.
So at
can you rewind the tape, Albie? You only get like 50 meters of clean air. Really.
Yeah.
So, and at this point here, is there a little bit of do you have to hold to touch?
What do you mean?
Do you have to back off the pace a little bit off the gas? Or is it a quick run through? You just run out of time.
Really, like I'd prefer to run at his wheel and come at him with a bit more speed. But to be honest, like all my sprint tactics just went out the window for some reason that I wasn't thinking properly, and I was just sitting in like such a good position that I was just way too relaxed. And then in the end, it all happened too quickly, and then it was
So
just
that's like a planned move you're saying from Quickstep, like with especially Morku, like he knows what he's doing there. They plan for that.
yeah. See, he swings out, then comes back in the line, and kind of boxes me in, and then by the time I can actually clear him, it's too late.
And it's also
you go.
He's also sprinting so late in the piece.
Yeah, I mean, Sam only had to sprint for 100 meters, so
yeah.
Right, they did a super good job, and hats off to them.
Do you boys sprint much together when you're training? Like, just have drag races?
Sometimes, like when there's just like a random line on the road, we'll sprint for it. But yeah.
And then so you guys are like out training and you're sprinting for like road signs.
Yeah.
And then you guys are sprinting for stages in the Tour de France. When you cross the line, are you guys just looking at each other like, what the fuck? Like, we're just in the Tour de France, bro, just going like head to head.
It is
cool,
strange.
Like with your buddy.
Yeah, it is strange. It's a really hard one because, like, I obviously want to really win stages. He obviously wants to really win stages. And in the end, like, these are the moments that are like making our career. And when you lose, you're so disappointed because, obviously you always want to win. But yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be beaten by someone, it's nice to be beaten by him. But in the end, I don't want to be beaten by anyone, whether it's a friend or not. So it's hard. Like, in the end, like, he's my biggest rival at this tour as far as like a pure sprinter goes. And it's always hard when it's a good friend of yours and also your biggest rival. It's easier when you don't like the guy.
Of course.
Well, stage 11, a very topical stage in the cycling world, a very eventful stage, but we'll just run this tape here. Well, or do you want to talk us through this tape first? So same deal as the stage you won.
Same deal. Like, there was a few points before in the last 10Ks that we were like, all right, we need to be at the front. But down to 5 guys, including myself. So that's 4 guys to help. 1 guy's riding. So I got 3 guys to help me. And in the tour, you have to be at the front quite early on. So it's not many guys. So we're like, all right, I can find my way generally in the final. So I need you guys to put me in good position in these important points. And the first important point was the downhill section with 10K to go, because we knew it was going to be narrow and it goes from like wide to narrow. So we knew it was always going to be nervous, especially 10K to go in the stage. So we were really good in front then. Frederick first put us there, then Roger continued from there basically to maybe like almost 3K to go. Then we put under pressure again by Quickstep and Bora because they attacked. But Roger did a really good job, kept them kind of close, and then we knew there was a climb coming from 3 to 2K to go. Then Jasper took me up that basically in the right at the front of the bunch. I was never in trouble there because at a point like that, you really don't want to move up on the climb because they're already going full gas. And if you move up on the climb, then you use so much energy that in the end, you probably won't be able to sprint or do it like a really good sprint. So I wanted to be good, like really good in front then. I was there, and then we were coming into a kilometre to go. Jasper had already been on the front for a few K up the climb as well. So I knew he was going to be done. Then I had to drop back into the bunch and into a whole bunch of mess because it was headwind downhill. Then we had like the slight ramp uphill. So yeah, I was again in a position where I was panicking a bit because I wasn't really in a winning position until, to be honest, I wasn't really in a winning position most of the time. But I just had to wait. Yeah, like even now, I think, I don't even know how far this is to go, but it's maybe 200 or 250. I'm not even in the picture yet. And not that it's not even like I'm not even in the picture. Like I'm absolutely boxed in everywhere. Boxed from the front. I can't go to the front. I can't go to the side. On the left, I can't go to the side. On the right, so I'm just like, yeah, I've got nowhere to go. So I just have to sit there, But I knew like, all right, I sit here, see what happens. There's nothing I can do from here. I need to hope that the gap opens up. And in the end, in the last few hundred meters, always like thins out a little bit. So I just had to be patient and wait for the gap to open. And once it opened, then I really accelerated out of it. And yeah, in the end, I just got there.
Have you learnt that in the sense of you get to a position where it's like, all right, I'm boxed in here. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is just wait and hope things come together, hope that a kind of path forms.
Yeah, in a scenario like this, you have to just like in the same as the first stage I won. You just have to hope that the gap's open for you, and in the end, they always open somewhere. Or I mean, not always, but they generally open somewhere. And I think the worst thing you can do is panic and then accelerate into a gap that's not there, because you end up just propping yourself and putting on your brakes. And then once you put on your brakes in the last few hundred meters, and it's all over. So you just have to sit there, give yourself some space, and then wait for the gap to open. And then once it's open, then if you haven't had to accelerate beforehand, you should be still good to do a good sprint. So luckily that this day here that it opened, probably if it opened a second too late, then I wouldn't have got there. So it opened right at the last moment that it could for me to win.
Or what you can do is you can go for a gap that isn't there and get relegated.
Do that.
Let's roll the tape. You're not even in picture here. Here we
Van
go.
Aert's been sprinting for 500 meters.
Van Aert.
So here I wanted to start, and it would have been, I think if I started here, I would have won by much more than just the tire width. But I get propped here because Sagan's drifting back into the line. So I had to stop sprinting, and then I had to start again. So it's already slight uphill, so it wasn't a super fast sprint, and I was in a 54.11, and I had to try to accelerate that gear again. So that was quite hard. But I think if I could start sprinting here where I wanted to, then I could have won a bit more convincingly than I did.
Yeah, you get properly checked by Bossenhagen.
Yeah.
This is a genuine drag race.
Opens up.
I'm sure you've seen the photo, the four of you guys sprinting. That's got to be one of the coolest photos of a sprint I've seen for several years.
Yeah. I think as like spectators to watch, it's much more exciting than, the years of perfect lead outs and the guy winning by 10 bike lengths.
Yeah.
Like, as far as sprinting, this is what you want to see. You want to see some pushing and shoving, and you want to see close sprints, and you want it to come down to the line. You don't want it just to be a guy winning by 10 meters. And I think now sprinting is quite exciting because we have lots of good sprinters and lots of really good guys on kind of, I guess, the same level.
We were talking in the pod, well, the one after this stage, and there was obviously a lot of discussion around the Sagan incident. To what degree can you discuss it, as a sprinter, what he did? If you were Van Aert, would you be super upset? Would you be like, this guy has to be disqualified? And I'm sure there's been times where you've had to do something like that. What does this mean for sprinting going forward, this sort of incident being in the headlines?
Yeah, I mean, they both can handle a push. That's for sure. I don't think, maybe if Sagan did that to Ewan and Bernal, he would maybe fall. Yeah, it does look bad. It probably wasn't as bad as it looked. But in the end, it's like Sagan should have been able to get through that gap.
You got through that gap.
Hey,
you got through a very similar gap in the first week.
He should have got through it, but he just panicked and then decided that it wasn't big enough, and then he decided to push. But if he just got himself cleanly, even if he propped a little bit just to get through it and kept sprinting, he probably would have won the stage.
Yeah.
So not only did he get disqualified, but he cost himself the stage doing it. But that's the rider. He's really an aggressive rider. He gets away with a lot already. So, yeah, he gets away with a lot because of who he is. No one really complains about him. So, yeah.
But as a sprinter, are you happy to see that sort of behavior rubbed out completely? Like going forward, any sort of contact disqualified? Like as a sprinter, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, probably like a big push like that in the last 100 meters. Yeah. I mean, in the last few kilometers, always going to be fighting for wheels and pushing and shoving. And that's just part of sprinting. And I think if you aren't allowed to fight for a wheel, then there's always like a line. Obviously, you can't make someone crash, but you know when too much is too much. So, yeah, in the end, something like that's always going to get DQ'd or relegated. You're like front and center of the picture, and you're bloody fully leaning and pushing a guy, then obviously you're going to get relegated. So, yeah, I mean, I think people want to see it. They want to see some pushing and shoving, and they just don't want to see guys lined up and drag racing. It's more exciting to watch. But yeah, in the end, it can be dangerous. I think most guys can handle it, but yeah, it can be dangerous.
Is it hard to make a call when you're doing 70 odd clicks an hour and you're running down a barrier? There's a barrier to your left, right, or to your right, whether you can hit that gap?
Yeah. The thing is, you always have to, even just riding the bunch, you're always anticipating what the guy in front of you is going to do. But in the end, you don't know what he's going to do. Like, you can anticipate that he's going to stay in his line, and you can kind of tell the movements that they're doing. But you don't know, like, if you're coming down the barrier, you're like, all right, when I start coming down the barrier, there's enough room. But you don't know if that guy's just going to turn right on you. Like when we saw Gruneweg and Jakobsen, when Jakobsen started coming around him, there's plenty of room. But you don't know if he's going to take you all the way to the barrier. And that's where the risk is, because at the end of the day, you don't know what another guy's thinking. You can only do what you think he's going to do. And that's why it's always a bit scary going down the barrier, because it's only 20 centimeters of him moving towards the barrier and you're over the barrier. And I guess that's like the scary part of sprinting, especially sprinting down the barriers.
Is he something?
Do you guys remember actually under 23 Tour of Flanders, Groenewegen put into the barrier?
Was that Groenewegen?
Yeah.
I remember you going down the barriers and going, like, just getting squeezed, and it was all over. And I remember I referenced that point a fair bit. It's like that's that piece that all sprinters seem to have, that little mentality of like, well, there's a gap there. If I don't hit it, I can't win. So why wouldn't I hit it? Yeah. Why wouldn't I try and go through it?
At the end, in this sprint, all you're thinking about is doing what you need to do to win. So if there's a gap there, then you're going to take it. You're not thinking about the consequences of if, like, everything happens so quickly. So you're not thinking about, all right, maybe if I go through this gap, he's going to close it, then I might crash. By the time you think all that, the race is over. So it's an instinct. Straight away, you see the gap, you go for it. And,
taking a bit of a dark turn on this discussion, the incident of Jakobsen, like, is that, like, do you think about that, like, as a sprinter now? Like, it happened a couple of weeks ago. Is it fresh in your mind, or like you were talking about just now, when you're racing, you're just in the moment and everything's just happening so quick, you don't have time to think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, if I was thinking about that, I wouldn't have hit the gap down the barrier at 70k an hour the other day. So
yeah,
you don't again, you're not thinking about anything. You're thinking about winning. That's it. You're not thinking about consequences of your actions. Like Sagan, he wasn't thinking about the consequences of if he pushed Van Aert. All he was thinking about was, what do I need to do to win? And he must have thought to himself, I need to make a gap That's what he did. He made his gap. He almost won. But he's not thinking about, oh, if I do this, I might get relegated. Like, you're not thinking like that. Like, people love to go back and, like, what we did then and break down the sprint over a few minutes. But all that stuff is happening in, like, milliseconds. And it's easy to go back and look at a sprint 100 times and the overhead view of it and this view and that view. But all we can see is, like, just what's in front of us. And it's so, sprint is one of the things that's so easy to critique, and, like, he should have done this, or he should have done that, or look, he should have gone to that gap on the left or the right. But at the time, like, you can't see anything. You're just seeing, like, your vision. So it's like, it's so easy for, like, DSs or anyone or people on Twitter to critique a sprint when they're looking at it from an overhead going in slow motion. But everything's happening so quick, and you're not thinking about consequences of your actions. And it's the same with Groenewegen. He wasn't thinking about he wasn't thinking about making anyone crash. He was just thinking about trying to win the stage. And that's just what we're all here to win, and that's all we're thinking about.
It's a really good point. Just to backtrack a little bit, when Groenewegen put you into the fence, was the incident when Davide Vieira grabbed you by the helmet and threw you into the wall before or after that?
It was post. It was the year after.
That was before that. And then when I got taken out by that guy that got bloody done for doping, what's his name? Remember that? When I got taken out in the wet sprint, I went flying into the barriers.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Where was it?
360.
It was a
How could you forget that one?
It was like a street circuit. Obviously, they were all street circuits, but it was like a flat street circuit.
Porto.
Filthy.
Yeah, Porto. You were the brain.
Yeah.
And I got like, I was like helicoptering down there.
Yeah.
Into the barriers.
Ugh.
Ragdoll.
Jesus.
Sprinting.
Not for everyone. Not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure. Hats off to you, Caleb.
Thanks, mate.
See, after you've bagged your second win, do you take confidence and energy that, all right, I'm just going to dog my way through these mountain stages and clean up in Paris?
Not really. Like, I just...
Because it's a tough run.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like if your body allows you to get through, you'll get through. If your body doesn't allow you to get through, you can't get through. There's nothing you can do. There's sometimes a point where your body is just like, will just not shut down, but like it will be like, no, this is it. And doesn't matter how mentally strong you are, it doesn't matter how much you want to get to the end. It's just, you can't do it anymore. And just hoping that I don't have one of those days. I've already had a few of them, but luckily with the courses, the days that I have felt like that, I've been able to get through. I've been able to get through with the help of my teammates and things. But if I had a day like I had 2 days ago, in a day where it's going to be cat ones from the start, then I know for sure like there's no way I can get through because it's just too hard. Like my body just won't be able to do it. And I think with the lack of racing coming into the tour, it's something that I really felt that I missed, is just kind of like the kind of resilience for like climbing. Is it like I train for sprinting, so I don't train for 1 hour at threshold on the climb to stay with the bunch or stay with the group header. Like my goal coming into this tour was not to get through the tour. My goal was to win stages, and that's what I trained for. And in the end, it might cost me because I might not get through the tour. But yeah, in the end, like I can be happy with what I've achieved so far. But I will definitely be super disappointed if I can't get to Paris. But yeah, I'm not feeling. If I compare myself to last year, I'm not feeling as good in the mountains. Last year, I really felt like I was getting better and better, whereas this year, I feel like I'm kind of getting worse and worse. and I'm hoping after this rest day, I'll feel better again. But yeah, at the moment, I'm struggling a fair bit. So I hope things turn around for me. It's like, last year I had the Giro in my legs, I had other racing in my legs, so I just had kind of like that general strength. Whereas this year I just don't have it because we had 4 or 5 months off racing, and I had to train for something. And obviously I was going to train for sprinting, not to get through a race. So yeah, in the end, I hope I can get there and try to win on Paris. Win on the Champs-Élysées again. But it's going to be definitely a big challenge.
What's the go in the peloton? What's the talk of the town? Like, what are people talking about? Like how strong Jumbo are, how good this Pogacar kid is. Like, Richie's coming up. Like, what's the talk for the GC? Like, you guys chat amongst yourselves about that sort of stuff?
Yeah. I can't believe how strong Bernard is. It's unbelievable.
It's redonk, bro. He was dropping Bernal last night.
Yeah, he's so strong. It's just crazy.
It's what we open every podcast discussion with.
I think to myself, like, how am I supposed to compete against something like that? Guys dropping Bernal and like I'm just beating in the sprint. Makes you feel pretty useless, to be honest. But anyway,
have you been talking to Richie much? Like, where's he at? Because we're starting to get pretty excited here. Like, on Richie potentially doing a podium.
He seems relaxed, and I saw him briefly at the start yesterday when they were attacking, like when the breakaway is trying to go, and we chatted briefly. But yeah, he seems quite relaxed and he looks good. So I think if he had a whole team that's supporting him, then we would see him already in podium spots if he didn't lose time in the crosswind sections. If he had what's his name? Jasper, what's his last name?
Stuyven.
Like, guy like that is so good in the crosswinds. Like, why isn't he helping Richie stay in time? But he just wants to get fifth himself in the stage. So to get fifth himself in the stage, he might have cost his GC leader a podium in the Tour de France. So like, if he had a whole team supporting him 100%, I think we would definitely see him on the podium. They're too busy sprinting for 10th place instead of helping that GC rider.
Clip. He's got Mads Pedersen though doing four men worth of work, so I guess that's something.
Yeah, it's good. It's good when you have a guy like that. But if you're gonna podium or win the Tour de France, you have to have a whole team absolutely supporting you 100%. And even the days that Bernard has won, his first priority was to help his leader, and then in the end, won for himself and won. But his first priority was to help Roglic. Whereas I think half Richie's team's first priority is not to help Richie, it's to help themselves.
Run a
10th. It's a shame to see that when like he could have been even higher on GC if he just had a bit more of a committed team.
A few more minutes, Albie. You got any last ditch questions?
I was just about to flag the time. Last ditch question.
What are you doing today then? If you're absolutely super pinned, like, is it tempting to just do like 20 minutes on the ergo, or like, do you need to do?
Well, tomorrow is going to be hell again. So I can't just like cruise around for 20 minutes. I'm going to go on the ergo and do some efforts to like keep my body ticking over, which I prefer if I could just stay in bed all day, to be honest. But I know if I do that, then I'll be regretting it big time tomorrow. So now I will go on the ergo for half an hour, 40 minutes or something. Just do some efforts, keep the body ticking over, have a bit of a sweat, and then hopefully that's enough for tomorrow.
Just again, go out and do 4 hours at 300 watts today?
he was talking about doing a climb because we're surrounded by mountains here. And he was going to go do a climb. So yeah, probably.
Wild.
Yeah, he just kept betting on it until goes on. So I think he needed the Grand Tour before this to be really going good. So maybe we'll see him a bit better this year.
Well, we might let you go hit the turbo.
Thanks, fellas.
Good to chat.
Yeah, all the best, mate. Good luck.
We look forward to seeing you lighten up the shops, Elise.
Yeah, hope so. We'll see. Just got to get through, I think, 3 hard stages, and then there could be actually a sprint finish before Champs-Élysées. Stage 19.
Stage 19, yeah.
Could be.
Anyway, mate, next couple of days, just take Brian Stevens's advice. Just find your groups.
That's the problem. I can't even make it into group header. So yeah, I can't. It's a problem when you can't even find a group.
You're the last group on the road. You're not finding any group back there.
The last person on the road, and group header is still like 5 minutes in front of you. Then you have a problem.
All right. Thanks, mate. All the best.
See you, Caleb.
Thanks, guys. Catch up.
Bye.
Bye.